In the Legend of Zelda series, varied items in each game have been the backbone of the adventures that you have. For the next Legend of Zelda game for Wii U and NX, this should be no different. From what we've seen in the trailers, we know only a few items returning from past Zelda games, and they are the bomb arrows, the sword, the shield, the bow and arrows, and the sailcloth. So when considering what items from past games that can return, we have a lot of room and a lot of items to cover. I mean, we already know that we're getting items that are brand new. The new arrow, this thing. I mean, what is that? So despite that, we're gonna probably see a lot more new items than old ones in this new Zelda game. We can expect to see a lot of awesome returning items. I put together a list of 10 items that should make their grand return in Zelda Wii U and Zelda NX. This list is based not only on the most famous and important items, but items that have abilities that are grand in scale and scope, since this new Zelda is gonna be the biggest Zelda game ever. So with that, let's get into it with number 10. By any means, Link is a hero of peak physical strength, but is unable to do anything supernatural in the heavy lifting department without the aid of strength-enhancing items such as the Golden Gauntlets, Power Gloves, or Power Bracelets. And this type of item could make a definite return as our number 10 pick for the next Zelda game. The game's overworld is going to be huge, with many dangers in terms of large enemies and large terrain. So with the use of power enhancing items, Link will be able to lift and topple large enemies, push boulders out of the way with ease, and uncover new areas on the map. Including these items will be a great way to expand accessible areas that are closed off at certain points in the game to have players discover bold new paths and treacherous caves and dungeons. An item that has simple enhancement but can go a long way with its use. And that's why it gets number 10. We talked a bit about strength. Now let's talk about speed. And when we're talking about speed in the Zelda series, we're talking about the Pegasus boots. Once again, going back to the fact that this is going to be the biggest Zelda game ever, we are going to need an item to get us from point A to point B in a flash, because I'm pretty sure we can't take Epona everywhere in this game. Furthermore, the Pegasus boots have never been represented in a 3D style Zelda game before, and this could be Nintendo's big chance to show off some cool ideas on how they can work in this type of space. Imagine this, using the Pegasus boots that can allow you to run on water or even run up walls of a mountain, something that a hookshot won't be able to do if it had a smooth-ish surface. The Pegasus boots have always been a situational item in the Zelda series, but I feel that there are many situations in which they can be put to good use in this huge game, and that's why they get number 9. Who doesn't like the power of flight? That's right, no one! And the Rock's Cape is your go-to item in the Zelda series that grants you a momentary flight after a great leap. Once again, going back to the theme of scope in the grand world of Hyrule, the Rock's Cape would be a great way to traverse the land in the air. We've already had confirmation of the sailcloth being in the game that can help you glide through the air. However, the sailcloth limits you to descend towards the ground when you're in the air. The Rock's Cape could afford you limited flight to areas that you can only get without descending. And hey, the Rock's Cape could be seen as a potential upgrade to that sailcloth that could have you fly for a short amount of time and then it'll have you slowly descend towards the land. And hey, Link is already shown to wear capes in this game, so why not? The Rock's Cape gets number 8. Okay, I know I've been saying this for years, but I feel that the concept of musical items that have a key effect in Zelda series should make a grand return in Zelda Wii U/NX, and I've got a preference for the Ocarina of Time to make its grand return. I'll take another instrument, perhaps something new, anything but the Goddess Harp. Whatever instrument it may be, I want it to be something in line with the Ocarina of Time's mechanics, with buttons based on notes that can conjure magical effects, allow warping, and even control time to a degree. And since we've seen that time manipulation is returning and may even play a key factor in the upcoming Zelda title, why not have one of the most important time-elemented items in the series make a grand return? If anything, this game could show the origin of the Ocarina of Time in the same vein that Skyward Sword showed the origin of the Goddess Harp that we've seen in Ocarina of Time. The Ocarina of Time is hands down the most famous Zelda musical item and one of the most famous Zelda items in general, and Eiji Aonuma did say he wanted this game to have the same impact Ocarina of Time did way back when, so how about you put in this item as an awesome callback? The Ocarina of Time gets number 7. The Mirror Shield has played an interesting and yet important role in the multiple games that it has graced. The last time we saw it was in the Minish Cap, so I think it's high time that this powerful item should return. It's often regarded as one of the most effective shields ever conceived, with the ability to block almost any danger, and the treasured ability to repel and reflect multiple forms of magic, energy, and light. With the laser blasting foes we see in Zelda Wii U, the mirror shield could come in handy, and the gameplay options that its mechanics offer can totally be put to good use in this game. Knowing Nintendo, they'll probably add new features to expand on what it can do and innovate new puzzles and gameplay surrounding its abilities. Perhaps a way to combine it with your own items and magic to increase their damage and range? Whatever the case may be, the mirror shield gets a spot on my list at number 6. You know, with this game having a supposed focus on the Sheikah, we could see a return of one of their greatest creations, the eye that sees all, the lens of truth. This mystical item took the old Transformer tagline of more than meets the eye to a whole nother level. At the cost of magic, this magnifying glass allowed you to see the truth past illusions and optical lies that enemies and dungeons may try to trick you with. My initial thought is that if this game were to have an item like this featured, you can use the Wii U gamepad in order to aim and see through the lens in-game. But since this game is also going to be on the NX, I don't know if that could still be a thing, but I digress. The Lens of Truth has always been one of my favorite Zelda items, because it took the sense of exploration and puzzle solving to another level. As a guy with some slight paranoia, I sometimes think when a puzzle isn't adding up, I can always bust out the old Lens of Truth and behold, the answers. I'm actually expecting a good number of Sheikah items in this game, so the Lens of Truth will be an item among those, especially with its invaluable abilities. Like, imagine if you stumble across a dungeon that you're not supposed to be in and then you get smoked by invisible forces, only to come back with the Lens of Truth and finally witness the horrors that have been scrubbing you out. Sounds neat, right? The Lens of Truth gets number 5. So the hook shot, the claw shot, the grip shot, man, whatever, a form of the shot thing, is pretty much an expected Zelda staple, and of course it's going to be on the list. However, working the hookshot into a game where there's vast landscapes in the overworld could be a bit difficult, as the hookshot does go quite a distance, but from what we've seen in Zelda Wii U gameplay videos, the distance between scalable areas are pretty damn far. With that being said, I feel like Nintendo could put a new spin on the hookshot and upgrade its potential. Oh, I got it! Perhaps Nintendo can work in that the hookshot can be used in the air. What I mean by this is perhaps when using the sailcloth or jumping from a ledge, Link can use the hookshot mid-air to zip to an area while airborne. Doesn't that sound epic? Yo, better yet, remember how Link could jump off his horse and hang in bullet time to aim his arrows? How about applying that concept to the hookshot, so Link could have some time to aim in the high air to fire his hookshot to a higher location? Make it happen, Nintendo. The hookshot gets number 4. Honestly, I'm a sucker for magical offensive abilities in Zelda. I mean, who wouldn't be? So I think it's high time that the elemental arrows return in the series. They have been absent from the past 2 3D Zelda games, Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword. The light arrows in Twilight Princess don't count, Zelda used them, you didn't. So it's high time that they returned. I'm talking about the likes of the fire, ice, and light arrows. But why should they come back? Well, you see, these arrows kicked a lot of ass back in the day, and I don't know, the fact that the game seems to have a huge focus on arrows, especially that mystical energy-based arrow, God, I wish I knew what it did. So with this odd focus on arrows in the next Zelda game, the elemental arrow shouldn't be too much to ask for, right? We've got hints on a magic bar returning, so there's that, and the elements within the Zelda games have always been a fun gameplay element that can be worked into puzzles. You know, maybe we can even have more elements in the famous trio of arrows. Perhaps an electric arrow, a rock-based arrow, a shadow arrow. The possibilities are definitely there. We just need someone at Nintendo to make it a reality. So, the elemental arrows get number 3. That is right, the Master Sword, the Blade of Evil's Bane, and needs to make a grand return in the next Zelda game. And before you guys start saying that the sword is basically a shoo-in for this game, a little fun fact, there's actually more Zelda games that don't have the Master Swords than games that do. So there's that inconvenient truth. But I want to be confident that one of the most famous swords in all of gaming will appear in Zelda Wii U and Zelda NX. Could you imagine its sick updated design for this game? One thing I like to point out about the Master Sword appearing in the next Zelda game is that it will be able to set itself apart from the other swords in order to maintain its worth, as there are times where the Master Sword is the penultimate blade in terms of power, and we've seen that in this one teaser for Zelda Wii U, Link seems to be packing some serious heat with what appears to be a variation of the Big Goron sword. We all know that the Master Sword is the blade of evil's bane and that it can smite all evil and yada yada yada. However, the Master Sword has shown a unique ability in which it can absorb foreign elements and energies in order to enhance its own strength for a limited time. Perhaps the game could expand on this ability and have the Master Sword be able to be charged with different elemental properties in order to gain a boost in power and solve puzzles. We've seen that energy may play an important role in this game, so tying this concept with the Master Sword could add a fresh new change of pace to the Blade of Evil's Bane. And you know, since it's arguably the most important sword in Zelda, it gets number 2. You were expecting it to be number 1? Well, let's see what beat it. So remember how I kept talking about how this next Zelda game is going to be quite the adventure in both scale and scope, and now we should have past items that can totally identify with that concept? Well, I feel that a dreadfully overlooked trio of items truly embody that. I'm talking about the magic medallions. These medallions have only appeared in 2 Zelda games, with their most influential appearance was in A Link to the Past, where their use with the Master Sword created grand effects. The Ether Metal casts lightning from the Master Sword, which eradicated all airborne enemies. The Quake Metal allows Link to drive the Master Sword into the ground, sending massive shockwaves that destroyed ground enemies in its vicinity. And the Bombos Metal, what a name, casts a fiery spin attack that expands to explosions all around him, setting enemies ablaze. These powerful attacks are abilities Link could use to his advantage in the next Zelda game. Since the land could be brimming with enemies and danger, Link could use these medallions to show off the power of his blade and lay waste to many an enemy, or perhaps use them to battle bigger and greater foes that we see here. For the most part, the magic medallions are secretive items that benefit the player when found, so items of this caliber could be revived in a similar light in Zelda Wii U and NX. This is going to be a big game, so we're gonna need some big guns going into this land, and the magic medallions have been forgotten for too long and should make a return in this upcoming game, and that's why the magic medallions gets the number 1 spot on this list. There you have it. If these items make their grand return in Zelda Wii U and Zelda NX, I'm pretty sure they will have a fine balance between high-scale item usage in comparison to the world, a variety of both old and new, and what could be a great homage to multiple Zelda games of the past. This is my top 10 list for returning items, but what item do you want to see most in the next Zelda game from a past adventure? Please leave your picks in the comment section below and be sure to like, favorite, and share the video, and most importantly subscribe to HMK for more content on the next Zelda game. So until then, I've been HMK, and I'll check you guys later.